I wanted to start this video off by talking about my relationship with Overwatch to give some idea where I'm coming from, because I have a lot to say, which is why I waited for Acti Blizz to iron out some of the bad launch problems. That is sadly just to be expected with modern AAA Western games in current year. Granted, most people couldn't even play the game to early review it anyway. I've played this game since 2016 when I bought it for my first laptop that I purchased. One of my relatives would later gift me a PS4 version of the game, so I actively used to play both versions of it. It was mindless fun at first. I came from a background of playing multiplayer FPS games like Halo, Battlefield, or Call of Duty. Overwatch came at the perfect time where I was losing interest in FPS games. I've never played a Blizzard game before, so I decided to try it out. The art style is what really caught my attention at first. I was used to realistic looking war shooters, so something coming out with a more stylized take on team-based shooters from a high-profile company like Blizzard, I was sold. Now, I really do like the art style, but I've seen complaints about it looking too corporate, in the sense that it's trying to appeal to as many people as possible. Like it's comic book style mixed with sort of a hint of simplistic anime style in there. It's also a style that is good for running on consoles or phones, unlike hard realism where every pore on a character's ass cheek needs to be detailed apparently. It's not inherently a bad thing, but as more games use it, especially mobile games, I can see how some people might get sick of it. I really do like it for Overwatch though. I will always prefer more stylized game art styles over just realism. The gameplay of Overwatch was also something I wasn't familiar with. It's a hero-based team shooter where characters have individual specific abilities, infinite ammo, and there was no loadout picking. The hero thing sort of reminds me of fighting games, another genre I enjoy, where you could main one character, get good at their kit, or play hard counters of a certain character. It was a refreshing FPS gameplay style for me. I enjoy playing every character except Mercy, with my personal favorites being Junkrat, Roadhog, Genji, Pharah, Hanzo, and D.Va. Alright, now let's get to the point. Where did everything go wrong with Overwatch 1? Well, I think it started around when they added Ana and competitive. To me, Overwatch is very much a casual console tier shooter. Like the game had hitboxes the size of a mini house, which is why people complain about being hooked through walls or getting headshot by Hanzo when they're behind a corner. Infinite ammo. It's just a lot slower than other FPS games. Quake Overwatch is not. But to add on, it had plenty of no aim or aim crutch abilities, stuns, shields, plus people used to clown on it for being a press Q to win game because of how strong ults are. Because of a lot of that, it was considered closer to shitty MOBAs instead of shooters. I just find it very hard to take Overwatch seriously. Granted, I don't take video games seriously in general, but Overwatch would be the very last one if I did. So because of the competitive focus, people started looking at the game more critically. It went through so many balance changes, metas I don't feel like getting into. Where I fell off was probably tank meta before they made it 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 healers. Tank meta was just insufferable. It was just all tanks and healers with matches moving at a glacial pace, barriers, and unable to play DPS without eating shit. It was just too much. The game isn't fun anymore. The balance updates were slow. The events recycled. So many people stressed out over competitive ranks, playing non-meta heroes, elo hell, etc. There is of course the PC versus console argument. Being someone who actually played on both platforms, it's practically the same experience for me. In terms of whatever was meta on PC was also meta on console, and there are idiots on both platforms. I'm getting off track. The new heroes at their honor were just handcrafted by Blizzard to be completely AIDS to fight against. I could, but I'm not even gonna really go into the internal stuff happening in the company during that time. Plenty of other people did. I'm here to just talk about the game. Overwatch was in a terrible spot, not dead, just in a limbo state, only being kept alive by the true die-hard machoist fans. Overwatch 2 was their chance to win back goodwill from fans. Well, did they succeed?
Nope.
I want to talk about the competitive scene first. I guess after what I said, you expect me to just say competitive bad, but no, there's nothing inherently wrong with having a competitive mode. The problem is Blizzard themselves trying to force competitive. Like many people have said before, forcing a competitive scene over it just occurring naturally doesn't work out well. I don't know how successful Overwatch League is, don't really care. I find the idea of competitive Overwatch lame. I bet most people just watched it to gain free currency to buy the skins or watch their favorite e-celeb. But as for the actual in-game competitive mode, well, like I've said, Overwatch is a team-based shooter with emphasis on the team part. It's the type of game where you could lose because one of your teammates is wanking it to Widow's ass the entire match, which is understandable, but still. There is also random disconnects or people throwing, or they're just really bad that it looks like they're throwing. It's one of the few games where people saying they've lost because of someone else being bad can be 100% true most of the time, along with the blame shifting. This is a core part of the game's design, but forgive me for the other cringe I'm about to say. I can feel the testosterone leaving my body and the soy intake coming because I hate when devs say this. Toxic behavior. Although I think this is a game design that sounds good on paper and is well-intentioned, it has a heavy emphasis on team synergy and coordination, so it's very frustrating for a majority of players to deal with, myself included. Unlike regular FPS games where it was more individual skill focused, you could partially ignore the rest of your team and solo carry in certain instances. Overwatch is like the hard opposite of that. There isn't any real solo carrying. Individual skill also matters less. It's more about how well you can synergize with your team, and if you are lacking in your specific role, then that can make you a huge detriment to the team and their chances of winning. For instance, if the tanks are tanking and making space, healers are healing, but the DPS aren't able to really kill anything, then you lose. If the DPS are able to get picks and the healers are healing, but the tanks are feeding, then you lose. If the tanks are tanking, DPS are damaging, but both die quickly because of lack of consistent heals, then surprise, you lose. It's a vicious cycle. This hard focus on making people work as a team rather than everyone just splitting off and doing their own thing is frustrating, so it's very understandable as to why a lot of people despise playing this game. It's not inherently bad game design, but man, is it just frustrating and exhausting to have to rely on other people to do their part. You could be popping off playing support, DPS, or tank, but if the rest of your team is not really on the same page as you, then it just feels pointless and crushing when you lose because you are at the mercy, no pun intended, of your team rather than just being able to hard solo carry. Throw in the idea of ranks and it just gets worse. I'm not gonna pretend I fully understand the ins and outs of the ranking system, but I'm just gonna say it's bullshit for the type of people it matches you up with. I think it's fair for where it initially puts you, but the type of people you get matched up with surely are not around the same skill level every single time. Seriously, it's like sometimes I get matched with people who play like they're playing this game for the first time. What I dislike about ranks the most is the hierarchy discourse that they can create when talking about the game's balancing. Like how people below top 500 or just GM in general are not allowed to chime in on the game's balancing issues. Majority of Overwatch players are just casuals, and pros would be like 20% at best, while the 80% are just casual players, and the game really isn't mechanically deep at all, so everyone can just pretty easily grasp what's wrong and what works with the game. There is a great video by Shredded Nerd going over this, about how listening to pro players is good, but they shouldn't be the only voices you listen to. To Blizzard's credit though, they at least try to listen to everyone when it comes to balancing, even if they screw up a lot. But let's just get into it. With Overwatch 2, we get 3 brand new heroes: Junker Queen, Sojourn, and Kiriko. I guess they all passed the retarded tone deaf diversity space tool, so here they are. I'll start off with my thoughts on Junker Queen. Design wise, I'm a big fan of muscle girls and the punk aesthetic, so I do like her base design, but it's not really as flexible when it comes to the ult costumes. Then again, it could just be Blizzard is really lazy with the ult skins. The only decent one is the Executioner. Her personality is aggressive, commanding Australian woman, and I like that too. Not not annoying as it could have been, but her voice acting is fine. It's just some of the lines of her dialogue are a little cringe, but whatever. She's a tank centered around a close range aggressive playstyle that is really fun and way better than slow barrier damage spam. Her scatter gun is satisfying to use. The knife and axe have bleed damage that gives her minor healing. Also, it reminds me of when Genji had the bleed damage for his dash attack. Glad they repurposed the idea at least, because I just think it's a cool passive. Next is the commanding shout ability that gives her and her team temporary health and speed, which is great because it encourages people to be more aggressive and attack during a fight, because a lot of people hesitate too much during team fights. And lastly, her ultimate called Rampage is pretty underwhelming for me. It feels as if it was supposed to just do straight up damage, but I guess that would be too strong, so they just went with bleed damage instead, along with preventing healing. It's alright, just seems pretty flaccid to me for a character who has an in-your-face aggressive playstyle. I would have switched her ultimate with Orisa because I could see Junker Queen spinning her axe around and it draws people in the same way she can draw enemies with her knife in, and then she slams it to the ground doing bleed damage or regular damage. Orisa is a character who is sort of like a horse and has a spear, so she would get the ultimate where she just charges through the whole team like a joust or something. Overall, Junker Queen is a fun tank to play who really fits the new 5v5 style. She seems balanced, but is very underwhelming. I feel it has to do with her not doing as much damage as I thought she would. The bleed damage and the healing she gets from that isn't all that great. The shotgun is strong, but it ain't no Reaper type of shotgun in terms of damage output. Like, it's a shotgun, yet it does very mediocre damage when you body shot people up close. The best thing she has now is her knife shotgun combo, which is like a very discount version of Roadhog. She basically feels way too finely tuned to just not be OP, so she isn't super viable, as in you'll be seeing her every game or something. She's just average. Balanced, yet I feel there could have been more to her kit. Next we got Sojourn, the diversity space tool made character that exists because some handful of randos from Twitter complained about no black women in Overwatch and no leaf representation, as if the leaves deserve it. Her design is honestly a travesty. It's just bad. I don't like how her skin and the cyborg parts mix together along with her clothes. Her alt skins are better than Junker Queen, but that's not really hard to surpass. Yet I still don't like them or these hairstyles. The only decent design is the cyber detective. I like the slick look of the coat, the shades, and the hat. Also, her cyborg parts not looking like skin or parts of the clothing. I wish it was her base design because she could be like some cyber detective character. It would be unique and I could see her having some nice looking alternatives. I think characters with masks or visors are cool as well. As for her personality, it's pretty bland. Just another slightly quirky, serious super soldier character, and her voice sounds like she is always bored. Let's just move on to her gameplay. She's a DPS who uses a railgun that rapid fires projectiles, and doing so generates a devastating high impact shot. It took a while for me to get used to using her gun because of the fact it's projectiles that can trail off, though it feels sort of weird when tracking an enemy for some bullets to not hit, but that is where the high impact railgun shot comes in. That thing is satisfying to land, and it's great for finishing off enemies with low health. It has both great body damage and headshot damage at high charge. Like, Sojourn to me is like 76 on crack. Imagine if 76 was able to shoot his Helix rockets with no real cooldown every time after just shooting someone a bit. That is basically Sojourn's gun. Another neat thing is her gun has no annoying kickback or recoil when you fire it like 76 or McCree, so that did throw me off a little bit, but it makes sense I guess lore and character wise, considering she is a super cyborg that can reasonably use this thing. Another ability she has is the power slide, which is a decent getaway and repositioning tool. Nothing all that crazy, don't have anything more to say about it. It's like a better McCree roll with a jump. The disruptor shot is a pain in the ass along with the high impact shot to be on the receiving end of, but man, that disruptor shot, even if you get out of it quickly, that thing does an annoying amount of damage quickly. It's an energy burst orb that just does a lot of damage. I thought there was more to this thing. Like, first time I tried her, if I had a fully charged impact shot and then shot it through the disruptor orb, it would cause a bigger shot through it or cause the orb to explode. To be honest, I wish it was like that. Depending on how much charge you have, if you shot the orb out and then sent a high impact rail shot shot through it, it would explode and do AoE damage, or a mediocre amount if you had low charge, instead of it just being pure raw damage. I mean, the ability is already another aim crutch side ability, but that would have at least made it more interesting and fun to play with. Maybe even more balanced, because you would at least need high charge for it to be truly effective. Anyway, her ultimate is Overclock, where the railgun auto recharges and she can pierce shot through multiple enemies at the same time with each shot, and it's really strong in the hands of someone with consistently good aim. I feel as though that's just the character in general. A lot of people think she is broken or overpowered as of making this video, because I don't know if Blizzard is gonna nerf her or not. Look at all the top players that play her, blah blah blah. I don't feel that way at all, really. Like, yeah, she does a lot of damage, but I don't really feel powerless or anything facing against her. I fought Sojourns that can aim really well and I got dumpstered by them, or I was able to deal with them here and there. And my first thought is to just try and adapt instead of just nerf her. One of the things I would change is Disruptor Shot. It's just an annoying ability, but other than that, I think she's strong but not really broken. From my perspective is, you know, like Brig pre-nerf, and how she was really brain dead to play, very easy, and did an insane amount of damage. Also just wasn't fun to fight against because of her ridiculous stun, self-heal, and stun whip shot combo that just deletes you. Don't really feel Sojourn is that brain dead. I don't know, man. Sojourn is just a character who is strong for people that know how to aim consistently, and because of that skill gap, I don't really think she's broken. Just a strong, bland character. Next is Kiriko, whose design I like the best out of the three because it's cute. She wears a traditional Japanese shrine maiden or Miko dress mixed with modern streetwear clothes. Her alt skins are the best out of the three as well, even if I do think this jacket skin is pretty lazy because they just removed the Miko dress torso part and put a jacket on her. The Hinotori, which just translates to Phoenix, and Matsuri, which means festival, are both great skins. However, the witch skin I honestly don't like at all because it just looks like a completely different character. I did want a new female character who is an actual witch based hero. That would have been nice, but oh well. Her voice did not sound at all like how I expected. She sounds just very American, especially compared to how Genji or Hanzo sound when they speak English. She just doesn't have that Nippon accent to her voice that I was expecting. Like, I was expecting soft spoken cute Japanese girl English, and I'm disappointed and my day is ruined. I do like her cheeky personality though. So she is a healer that uses throwing kunai projectiles to attack. They are powerful, like really powerful when you land headshots, but do piss damage for body shots. I'm not exaggerating when I say her kunais are really powerful for headshots. Like, they do the same damage equivalent of when Zenyatta headshots someone while they are discorded. Kiriko doesn't even need to throw a debuff on the enemy to send them straight into the grave. Because she doesn't have any other way to do damage, it's very important to land headshots when you play her. Anyway, she uses Healing Ofuda to heal her team, but it's an LOS healing, meaning they need to be in her line of sight for her to properly heal them. It's rather slow moving but heals fast, and I don't like how alternating between teammates causes some of it to turn blue and not heal unless they are really close for you to just lock on to them so that doesn't happen. The actual healing is great though, and the recharge rate is generously fast, so it's better for me to just alternate after using all the healing Ofuda on a single teammate in most instances. The protection Suzu gives brief invulnerability and gets rid of debuffs, so they finally added a good counter ability to Ana's annoying anti-heal piss grenade years later. Well, better late than never. It works as a great burst self-heal. This ability is great for helping her teammates escape sudden death, and becomes even stronger when you combine it with the next ability I'm about to mention. Swift Step is pretty insane. It just lets her instant transmission teleport to a teammate, and this ability is like the best thing she has in my opinion. Her kit is already solid enough, but this is just what elevates it. You can just teleport to a teammate instantly to heal them if they are losing a fight, throw down a Suzu, and bam, they are back in the fight again. Or teleport to heal them, then teleport back away to the rest of the team. What keeps this ability from being really broken or anything is the range isn't crazy, but it's still one of the best positioning abilities for getting around in general. Of course, since Kiriko is Japanese, she has to have a wall climb. What I hate about wall climb for not only her but Genji and more so Hanzo as well is how the wall climb would just reject you climbing it all the way, and climbing a wall at certain angles just cancels your wall climb, which is annoying. Lastly, her ultimate is Kitsune Rush, which just accelerates movement movement, attacks, and cooldowns. It's an ultimate that's really strong, but because of its stationary nature, I don't think it's really that crazy or broken. Overall, Kiriko is a top tier support with a well-rounded kit. Her damage can seriously rival some DPS characters with how well she can pick people off and fight against flankers attacking her. She has the best getaway option of instance transitioning to safety or to attack, also countering debuffs with the Suzu, an ultimate that's great for ramping up the speed of team fights. Like, no wonder so many people play her. Despite how strong she is, I do think she is balanced and the most fun I've had playing support. Let's talk about the core gameplay now. Overwatch is free to play. Granted, it should have been that at the start instead of $40 to $60 for a multiplayer online only game, but better late than never. The launch was of course a disaster, and the game is really buggy, a lot buggier than Overwatch 1 ever was. When I played it after waiting a while for some of this stuff to iron out, I got a bug on the PS4 version. I sadly didn't record where when I played gun game in custom mode and was killed instantly because it still has the issue of character models not loading in quick enough, my screen was just completely blurry the entire match. For PC, unfortunately, I got that bug I've seen other people get where I just couldn't see the enemy team at all. They were just floating dots and I had to leave. On PC, I was stuck in little purgatory when trying to play quick play, as in the match just never started. We were stuck in the spawn room and again I was forced to leave. Characters wouldn't show up for their own play of the game, and of course the Bastion Ultimate one was definitely the worst, but fun if you were Bastion. Black screen, freezing, random disconnects. It just wouldn't be a AAA gaming release if it wasn't a horrendously broken piece of shit around launch. Okay. The core gameplay, Overwatch went from 6v6 to 5v5 with a focus on a more aggressive teamfight approach instead of the barrier stun simulator the first game was. There is now just one tank instead of two. Personally, I would have opted for one healer instead because support is the least favorable role to play. Like on console, for quick playing competitive, the queue times are 6 minutes for tanks, 5 minutes for DPS, and 1 minute for support. On PC, 7 minutes for tanks, 6 for DPS, and 1 to 2 at best for support. Most people just do not want to play support, and if you choose queue time to play all roles, then well, oops, all support is what you'll be playing. I would rather have one healer instead, but they each get buffed in a way so that they could heal the entire team. What if Briggs' ult was just her regular ability, or if Mercy's healing beam that heals or damage boosts the entire team during her ultimate was as well, or if Sin had a healing orb he could throw on someone that also heals others around the character. I think this change would have made them more engaging and fun to play, make them feel more powerful individually with a buff to their kits. My idea is having one tank, 3 DPS, and one buff main healer should in theory make team fights feel more balanced damage and healing wise. It should also make the game a lot faster because the focus is on damage and there's only one healer to really worry about. Healing is the strongest thing in the game since it just can negate damage, so one healer should be good enough. I don't know, but people are hard on support because of what I said. Healing just negates damage for free, and it's a role primarily focused on aiding your team, unlike the damage focus of tank or DPS. Yet it's just so boring. Most people don't want to manage healing and surviving, so buffing their kit to solo team heal should make it less stressful when you do heal your team. Having 3 DPS is just because people love damage. I was considering adding the tank back, but because of the large health pool, I decided not to. They are just basically bulkier DPS anyway, so a 3rd DPS is just easier to deal with. But to go back to Overwatch's new 5v5 style, it feels off and more unorganized than the 2-2-2 setup. Most of the heroes don't really feel like they were all designed for this gameplay style. It's mainly the tanks and support that feel this way, but I will just give my thoughts on some characters from each role and the entire role itself. I don't really want to talk about balance that much, because if I do, this video is going to be outdated the minute I upload it, but because how the game plays now, it's just not at all what it's going to be like months from now. There's just never ever going to be a state of this game that is the fabled perfectly balanced update. Definitely one of the things I don't miss about Overwatch discussion is the buff and nerf debates. Each role has a passive now, which is a great update. Tanks receive less knockback, DPS get faster reload and movement from eliminations, and all healers now automatically heal over time. I want to go over some things with each role role. For tanks, my issue is you can sort of ignore them. What I mean by that is, for instance, if you play, let's say, Rhine, and keep getting healed spammed by the supports, then the enemy DPS or enemy supports can just go for your supports instead of fighting you, because it's a waste of time attacking you if you keep getting healed. And it's a lot easier now to jump supports because there's no longer, of course, a secondary tank to stop them like Roadhog, Zarya, or D.Va. A tank versus tank fight feels more like a big distraction now, so the DPS can fight each other, kill supports, and the match can actually progress. It used to be if your tanks died, it would be better to just reset because you're at a huge disadvantage. But now if your tank dies, you can still win team fights if you go for support or DPS. It's not a bad thing, it just feels weird, man. Like the tank's importance was demoted in a way. I said earlier I like Junker Queen, even if she is underwhelming to me. She does fit this 5v5 style, yet is in this odd sweet spot of I think she could be more viable than she is now, but I'd rather not test that out knowing how whack Blizzard's buffing and nerfing can get. Another tank I want to talk about is Doomfist, cause he was a DPS at first and for some reason is now a tank. I already said that the heroes after Ana just had kits that were designed to be as annoying as possible to fight against, and he's definitely one of them. I mean, he was sort of fun to play, but my issues are you would do a lot of stuff just to kill one person. Rocket Fist cancel into Seismic Slam into uppercut, then hand cannon just to kill Ana, then Rocket Fist cancel away only for Ana to get rezzed by Mercy anyway. Or you would just dive in, love tap someone and then die. Very stupidly designed character who I could never figure out the proper way to play in the way devs intended. Their solution to fixing him is by making him a toothless tank who does less damage compared to when he was a DPS. I just think it's funny how Rocket Fist does less damage than Orissa's spear. He has a Seismic Slam now that's just a repurposed Winston jump and no longer has the damage scaling depending on how high you went, and the power block is about as reliable as deflect, which means it'll work about like 50% of the time. Even if you get full charge, most people will kill you before you even get to use it effectively. He just all around sucks now. Old Doomfist would have fit this more aggressive 5v5 playstyle more, but they just neutered him for no reason. Moving on, Wrecking Ball is a hero I just hate. Blizzard seriously made an entire character based around just bumping into people, with the idea I guess being of dispositioning a team, but in a game where static barrier position spots are no more, he is just useless. So as to why he didn't get a complete rework, it would be hard when the character's playstyle and identity is centered around a gimmick of just knocking into people, but for now he's just worthless to me and still needs to be worked into something less shit. I should also mention they thought it was a good idea to buff Zarya for some reason. She was recently nerfed of course, but still though, what were they thinking? The only rework for tanks that I enjoy a lot is Orisa. She went from boring ass shield bro tank to aggressive spear horse, which is actually fun. On the DPS side, Bastion got reworked. It's okay in terms of his damage output, but I get annoyed with how slow he is for just moving around or going in turret form, so I don't really play him as much. Also his grenade is pretty bad because I shoot the thing at the wall to hit the target sometimes and it just bounces past them or somewhere else. He didn't need a grenade, he is a walking sentry turret. Feels like an unnecessary tacked on ability to replace self-repair. The new ultimate sucks in comparison to the previous one, and the majority of characters can easily get away from it. It was only fun when it was just completely broken, but other than that it's boring and only good for zoning. Bastion is just yet another result of a character having to be finely tuned so that they're not too fun to play, balanced enough for competitive, at the cost of being less interesting and fun. Speaking of that, shout out to Echo's ult being completely garbage now, just as I was getting good at her. But the DPS everyone wants to talk about is Sojourn. I already stated my thoughts on her. I don't think she's broken, just very strong. Really only a problem for Grandmaster level players, so who cares? My main problem is she is a diversity tool made bland as hell character with an uncreative kit and non-existent personality. She has a railgun, but it's just a literal railgun. Very uncreative. How about instead of an annoying ass orb grenade, she just uses her cyborg arm to shoot instead, and maybe her ultimate could be her shooting out charged shots like Mega Man or something. I swear I'm putting way more creative thought into this character than Blizzard ever did. Overwatch has a cast of different creative FPS styles, and for her to just be a better 76 is just disappointing. Another passing hot topic was Sombra, and well, I'm just gonna keep saying it, every character after Ana was just designed in such a way to be as annoying as possible to fight against. So wow, I am shocked that the character whose kit was designed to turn off other people's abilities is annoying. I didn't think she was broken, just annoying to fight against. I want to also talk about Tracer. Just why does she still have Pulse Bomb? So many reworks and tweaks here and there, yet she still has this ultimate that has been shit ever since it was nerfed to not one-shot tank. Why didn't they give her an ultimate that fits her character more like Ryan, Genji, Sombra, 76 and so on? My idea was something I called Blink Blizzard. Get it? Cause Blizzard. But basically I got it from her Nailed It highlight intro, and my idea was sort of making it like Doomfist ult where Tracer blinks away, a circular dome outline prompt appears, and hitting confirm wherever you want causes her to blink around, shooting whatever is in that space. The prompt would be like 5 seconds, the actual attack would last for like 2. Pulse Fade is another idea I had, taking inspiration from Sombra's Stealth and Moira's Fade. Tracer's device on her torso goes into like an overclock mode or something for 3 seconds, and as she activates it, it leaves after images so the enemy can still see where you are going, yet it might be difficult to actually shoot you. However, they could still kill you, but where the stealth and fade comes in is if she's blinking, it's more like walking at a faster speed for the person playing Tracer, and once you fire your gun, it shoots out one supercharged shot similar to Sojourn's charged shot at whatever you're aiming at, then it instantly ends. The two ideas aren't perfect, but it's at least something creative that fits more in line with the character's main abilities than a boring bomb. Something else that it really isn't a major problem except for me is I still don't like Ashe's ADS for her gun, aim down sights that is. There is something about the zoom in effect that just throws my aim off. Pharah's ultimate still just needs to allow her to move. It doesn't even have to be fast, just slow movement similar to Reaper during his ult. And lastly, what grinds my gears is Torb used to pick up scrap to make armor to give to his teammates, plus had a level 3 turret that was decent at point defending, and my favorite autist, Symmetra, who used to have a shield gen and teleporter that was actually useful for the whole team, and a forward moving mini shield that allowed her to get in close. All of that is gone, and they are just now neutered, safe, comp friendly versions of themselves, just focused on doing basic damage with their guns. Turret and teleporter just being temporary aid that gets easily destroyed. Can't have any interesting DPS support abilities that aid the team. Nope, can't have that at all. Other than those hangups, DPS is just fine. It's balanced and you can play everyone, but man, is it really just more of the same. I want to sum up the DPS segment by talking about Mei. As you know, Mei can no longer freeze her opponents, instead it's just a slowdown. Although I can't say I truly miss being frozen by her, yet it was a unique quirk to the character that made her stand out, but now it's just gone in favor of more fine tuning. I think that just sums up what people don't like and what I don't like about Overwatch 2's current balancing. I don't know about you guys, but I would rather characters be designed with fun and uniqueness first and foremost instead of being sanded down for the sake of competitive balancing. Last but not least, the support role, and honestly it's pretty screwy in Overwatch 2. I want to talk about Kiriko first because I love Kiriko's playstyle. It fits this aggressive 5v5 structure really well. More than any other support, the lack of a second tank is really felt here when playing this role because you are now more vulnerable and have to focus on not only surviving but healing your team as well as aiding in damage. So I think Kiriko excels the most in that regard. This role can be stressful for most people though when it comes to managing all that, and I do think that is partially why most people don't want to bother playing support in the first place. It's why I'm seeing a lot of DPS healers like Moira and Brig who can do damage to fuel their healing, but Brig is pretty trash now. Don't know why she just wasn't reworked completely for some reason. You would think the most hated character would get a complete overhaul change, but I guess not. Speaking of changes, I wish Baptist's ultimate would at least move with him like how it is before you actually cast it. It's an ultimate I think was made to counter barrier stalemates at a choke point, but the fact they didn't change or update it seems like an oversight. I don't really have much else to say about support. They are relatively the same, but the shift in gameplay style makes them more difficult to play for people that just over-relied on sitting in the back lines and healing tanks. I much prefer this more engaging, fast-paced Kiriko style, so I hope more support that come out are similar to her. And I really hope Blizzard doesn't nerf Kiriko the same way they always nerf Genji. Just because a lot of people are playing her doesn't always equate to being completely broken. Overall, for the entire roster, I think they are the most balanced Overwatch has ever been, which was not a hard thing to achieve after Barrier Watch. Yet another thing that has been bothering me, which I mentioned plenty of times, is how finely tuned the game has to be now in order to be more competitively viable. Overwatch is just not a competitive esports game to me. You didn't need to be an aimbot tier headshotting god to win a game of Overwatch. Characters had more distinct pronounced abilities that had to be approached differently when fighting them. It was a lot closer to TF2, Splatoon, or just whatever casual shooter. Overwatch 1 wasn't perfect, yet it had a certain chaotic charm in its early days. However, over time, a lot of the soul was just slowly removed with each and every patch. So now we have a sequel that is more balanced but feels more sterile. The game takes itself way too seriously, and so do many of the people that play and develop it. While it is still fun to an extent, at least, I can't help but roll my eyes over the idea of each hero, new or old, having to be constantly tweaked, reworked, or pre-neutered to better suit competitive balancing, while also being made less distinct over time, followed by the usual repetitive nerf or buff discussions, combined with the disconnect of a hero who is just okay at an average player's level, is actually broken at a high competitive level, and played every game. It's the same thing over and over again. It's just exhausting. Not even asking for game-breaking bugs or broken abilities to be allowed, just to not design or overcorrect every little thing for the sake of competitive constantly. I don't believe Overwatch will ever be the perfect balanced pro game, so it's just tiring to see it struggling to try to be, or other games trying to chase the esports dream. The next topic shouldn't take that long. Visuals of the game look the same. I do notice that they are a lot sharper instead of partially muddy at certain distances now. Granted, I noticed that more on the console version. The UI got an update. It's mostly the same, but visible icon borders are gone for some reason, which sucks because I had a cool silver border, and that was like the only other indicator to see how long someone could have been playing at a glance. Now you have to go snooping in somebody's profile, which you can't even do all the time, because some people private their profile because they don't want the enemy team to counterpick them before a match, or they're afraid of getting picked on for the characters they play. Who knows? I should also mention that everyone except Echo got a redesign, and these redesigns, man, I don't even want to go through all of them because they're all just pretty bad. Comparing them to Overwatch 1 designs is literally the soul and soulless meme. At least Diva's ass got a buff. Maps in this game still look amazing art style wise, however, sadly they mostly remain the same, yet the time is different. I still hate playing on every single one of them. The map layouts are completely screwed. They have like a million corners, random side areas no one ever uses, annoying banisters that sometimes are breakable and other times not, horribly placed trees or signs that just get in the way, too many choke points, annoying moving platforms, and random clutter that I guess is supposed to be used for cover but just gets in the way. Also these weird invisible wall spots for areas you should be able to stand on. There is also this weird lighting effect on the Halloween map that just made certain character skins and particle effects very bright, but the maps really don't feel like they were designed with any of the heroes in mind. There is no map where I think, yes, I need to play this hero here because it completely synergizes with their kit. The closest I got is playing Ryan on choke points, or of course playing Pharah, Lucio, Roadhog, or Wrecking Ball on a map with a death drop. I just can't stand the map design philosophy of Overwatch because it's as if the layout of the maps actively work against the players. Let's just move on to features. Now this is just me going over some options and accessibility stuff. For instance, I want 1 HP survival to not be a thing because that's just so annoying to deal with in a game with fixed damage. Like if you land a life-ending headshot or whatever, only for them to still survive with 1 HP and escape, or to get healed at the last second. It's just very frustrating. Practice range should have 5 hero dummies to test moves on, and teammates along with an option for them to shoot in place or heal, etc. I mean, they have so much space in the practice range, they should have just added something like that by now. I appreciate the much needed ping system, but I wish Blizzard would at at least allow the option to turn the sound down or off. You should be allowed to avoid like at least up to 10 players or more instead of a measly 3. Something that would be nice for accessibility is the option to change particle effect colors. When you do change the UI color, the abilities themselves are still the default colors. I want an option for the Uprising or Overwatch League HUD for regular gameplay. It would be better than having to constantly tab to see who is still alive. That was something that many people have requested, but the thing I want the most is just a third person mode, similar to what you can achieve in custom games but more polished. The character animations are all there, they could probably easily do it. I just don't know why they don't even bother, because it would be a good thing for those with bad spatial awareness. Lord knows majority of support players need that. Also, you would be able to see your character's full body and the skins they wear at least. Now for some reason Blizzard has removed or altered some quality of life features, like the on fire system is gone, yet the characters still have the voice lines for it. In-game cards gone. Reputation icon borders, like I said, are just hidden in the player profile. No more group indicator that allowed you to know if you were fighting someone who was in a group. That's gone. Priority pass tickets gone. Find the group feature gone. Medals, of course, are gone as well. And now we have a scoreboard instead. Still has the thing I didn't like about medals, where during the bare minimum of assist could grant you silver or gold medals. Now an assist counts as a full elimination. For instance, if you just love tap an enemy but then someone else on the team actually kills them, that counts as an assist and elimination for you. Also, the scoreboard has stats on the side relevant to the hero you are playing that I don't ever really bother looking at. I don't hate the scoreboard though. At least now I can see who is actually doing things and who is just jerking off more clearly now. The replay feature is absolutely still terrible. It didn't get updated at all. Still has the weird floaty mouse control, still lags, can't click on timeline, and you need the slider to drag. It's also prone to bugs. The console version is way worse. Right now you can't even pause anymore because it's glitched, and you can't even slide the timeline, only fast forward or back. Just no improvements were made to this feature at all, not even minor ones. You guys remember hand emotes, weapon inspection, and banners? Well, neither did Blizzard because those aren't in the game. Don't have much to say about it other than it would have been cool. Although hand emotes and banners would definitely be paywall probably. Let's talk about modes. Everything is the exact same from Overwatch 1, but we got one new mode called Push. And well, it's just very slow. There is just a lot of walking, dying, enemies hiding behind the robot. I don't think it's terrible, but the map needs to be more condensed so that the walking doesn't take forever. I wish they would add some temporary speed boost from leaving spawn or something. That wouldn't make the game unbalanced because the maps are so huge. It should only be in effect until one team makes it closer to the other team's spawn. Other than that, oh no, 2CP is gone. You hear that? That is the sound of everyone who cares. Unranked, specifically quick play, is just competitive without the shitty ranking system. And Blizzard still has to bribe people to play healer. Of course, everyone's favorite 50-50 wins and losses matchmaking system is still a thing. They claim it matches you with players around your skill level, but we all know that that is BS. For both quick play and comp, it's like games where you steamroll the enemy team, or games where you get steamrolled instead. If the between being games where you're actually put with people around your skill level, and those are the games that are usually close where it feels like either team could win. There is also open queue, which is where people still run roll queue comps to curb stomp people who don't. Arcade is arcade. Custom games continues to be the only source of real fun I have playing this game, with gun game, 1k damage, one dad versus 11 kids, and so on. Then there is of course everyone's favorite sweat mode competitive. The ranking system in Overwatch 2 though is odd. I can't really tell if it's better than the first game or not. I always thought it was fair where it initially puts you, but when it comes to the actual matchmaking, it was a little bit suspect. The system now is 720. 7 wins, 20 losses. Then your rank is recalculated. They don't even show you your rank until you win 7 games. I guess this was done because people get mad when they realize they aren't instantly GM or something. I don't know. I've seen people complain complaining about how they just stay the same rank. Like, congratulations, you went from Plat 1 to Plat 1. It's very odd. I don't really get it, and I don't care, because I just think competitive Overwatch is fucking stupid. The reward you get is piss-colored guns. There are still no competitive mode only skins. Like, hey, at least you would get to buy skins from playing the game and earning currency through gameplay. Another thing they just didn't improve on. But speaking of it, it leads me into my next topic. Last topic I want to talk about that I'm sure most of you are familiar with already is demonetization. To be honest with you, family member, I've never played a single game with a battle pass before, so once again Overwatch is giving me a new experience, but one I'm not too happy about. I wasn't familiar with it and looked up the definition from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. A battle pass is a type of monetization approach that provides additional content for a game, usually through a tiered system, rewarding the player with in-game items for playing the game and completing specific challenges. So you're telling me this is the basic video game level up system but with a paywall. I am Gen Z but just sound like an absolute old man when I say this, but remember back in my day when we used to play the game, we leveled up and got rewarded for playing the game. This ain't bussin' for real, no cap, my brother in Christ, on God, this ain't goated with the sauce. So apparently this version Overwatch has is also worse than others like Fortnite content wise. Like, at least with stuff like crossover content in Fortnite, I can understand having to pay, but with Overwatch that isn't the case. Now, I hated loot boxes as well because all I would ever get is skins I already had, sprays no one uses, or voice lines, with a 1 out of 100 chance of rolling a legendary skin for a character that I don't play. And I hated how currency was locked behind it as well. Those were terrible, but at least there was a chance to maybe roll a skin you actually want. I'm not even really the type of person that cares about skins, especially in an FPS game where you can't see your character unless you emote. Even more reason to have a third person mode. You would be able to see the skin you paid $40 to $60 for, which is the same price as the first game, and costs more than other full priced video games. I still use alt skins just because I like some of the different designs of the weapons. However, I bought that with in-game currency from playing the game and not spending a dime on RNG boxes. Oh, let's also talk about the fact that Blizzard is unironically paywalling the old skins, including the shitty blue rare skins that no one uses because they are just lazy recolors. Like, wow, Blizzard, you didn't even let those loot box filler skins be freebies at least. There are now name cards and titles that you have to pay for. Are they serious? I look at someone's profile for like 5, not even 5, but 1 second click, and it's just to see what character they mostly play. Oh wait, it's privated. Oh well, never mind, but at least I know they're the type of jerk off to pay for that name card and title at least. There is also souvenirs, which are literally just emotes, and I have not seen a single person in every game I've played that uses this. Blizzard, why not have something like a group emote? And what I mean by that is, like, if Tracer, for instance, emotes to hold their hand up for a high five, and let's say Lucio also had the other half of the emote, if they both activated, it would do a special high five animation. I would still not pay for that, but it would be a lot more interesting and encourage people to try and do emote collabs. Maybe they could have also added team win screen animations like what Splatoon has. Can't forget about weapon charms, which are laughably lazy and poorly thought out. Makes sense for characters with guns, not so much for everyone else. It's just yet another pointless thing to spend your money on. Again, this could be better if we had third person and you can put it somewhere more reasonable, but even then, why not just make it a unique accessory for each character? What if Genji had a wristband with charms that relate exclusively to him? Or if Tracer had an armband? I don't know. I really don't like the charms. It's such a lazy, obvious, pointless cash grab that I can't even fix. I want to rant about this mage skin they gave Kiriko. She looks like a completely new character. Why not base the design off of, I don't know, Megumin? Because I know the devs love their anime references. Or some other Japanese fantasy mage and witch. Or better yet, give her a magical girl outfit, Japanese schoolgirl outfit, cat girl maid outfit. No, these aren't my fetishes, it's culture. And has something to do with Japan. Like, even Mercy has a skin that is Japanese and fits better with Kiriko than Mercy. There is also this Genji Cyber Demon skin. And I mean, Genji is my most played besides Junkrat, but damn, is this ugly. The only cool thing about it is you can customize it to be even more uglier. But seriously, the customization is a good idea. It should be a thing for a lot of other skins, especially ones that have a variant which are just the same fucking skin but a different color. Hold on, I forgot to mention challenges, which is another element of battle passes where you need to complete a bunch of daily, weekly, seasonal, and lifetime tasks to earn XP. And then you can finally have enough currency to buy one skin, maybe. Just terrible. I don't care about any of this. Blizzard is legit out of their damn mind thinking anyone, let alone majority, is gonna waste time actively trying out these challenges. All of this is ass, but you wanna know the saddest part? Competitive is literally the only thing that actually rewards you with something from simply playing it. Yeah, it's piss-colored guns, but it's actually something you can earn from simply playing the game. The monetization in this game is abhorrent. It's so transparently greedy and is one of the reasons I can't stand modern AAA Western games. The real stinker is that new heroes are going to be locked behind the battle pass. So even if you don't like cosmetics, then get screwed because new heroes will be locked behind the pass. You can't ignore it. You better grind or pay up in this free-to-play game. Who is this for, Blizzard? Can't be Overwatch 1 fans since you give the middle finger to them after keeping your shitty game alive while you focused on this half-assed sequel, and it sure as hell can't be new players since they get thrown under the bus the hardest. You know, the people who you are supposed to be trying to get to play your new sequel game after yeeting the first one out of existence, probably to resell in the next few years as Overwatch Classic with a full $60 price tag for all platforms. I just cannot stand this business practice of screwing over the customers, the fans, because the idiots will still buy it anyway. It's so tiring. Every time, many people call it out and shit on it, yet it still keeps happening because people buy into it. This shit is just never gonna stop, so I've taken the black pill, the doomer pill, for the fact that nothing can ever get better, only worse. Well, let me just wrap this video up. I've been rambling on for too long. What is my TLDW thoughts on Overwatch 2? To put it simply, like others have said, Overwatch 2 is just a rush balance update with worse monetization. And at this rate, it might have worse player retention with the fact casual players, you know, the majority of the player base, get screwed over if they don't want to dump money into this game. And new players might as well not bother with it. An important factor I've seen others cover, I should at least mention, is Overwatch 2 development was not only focused on PvP, but PvE as well. And while I get it's a thing the devs have been wanting to do for years, I just can't help but wonder why, because Overwatch was a PvP primarily focused game, and the PvE seasonal stuff was always just very mediocre. It did about as much for the lore of Overwatch as much as giving a dehydrated man in the desert a half-full water bottle. Serviceable for the moment maybe, but nothing sustainable. Who knows, maybe the PvE story is the best thing ever to come out of this. But I dislike how they went from shifting focus on Overwatch 1 to rushing Overwatch 2, and shifting focus from that to getting PvE out. Like hell, might as well announce Overwatch 3 with players having to pay $40 every hour they play the game, like some Chinese game cafe or something. Once PvE is out, Blizzard could just do an animated Netflix show, and for the love of God, don't make it so overly melodramatic like the wannabe Pixar serious shorts they make. Anyway, if you still enjoyed the game, then good. You are an independent viewer who don't need no e-celeb to tell you what to like and dislike. As for me, will I still keep playing it? Honestly, no. I play the game casually and sometimes think to myself, why am I even playing this? I think I've reached a stage of apathy for Overwatch. The game just does everything it can to get people to stop playing it, and I for some reason cling to the idea things would get better, like a battered wife. Oh, maybe he won't beat me up and put a cigarette out on my face this time, and it just keeps happening. First video I've made on this channel was me giving BioWare another chance and trying to be optimistic about Mass Effect 4, but Overwatch just reminds me of how shitty the industry really is. Despite all of this, I don't really hate Overwatch. Truth is, I'm tsundere for it and want it to be the best it can be. Like, if you genuinely love something, then you should be willing to critique it so it can improve, but it's as if Blizzard Blizzard is actively working against my or other people's best wishes for this game. I'm just so fed up with the current video game industry shenanigans. As I was making this, they revealed a new character called Ramatara, and well, he looks alright I guess, a bit over-designed in whatever form this is. At least Ramen Man is a tank and an Omnic. More Omnics are needed as well as tanks and support, but I just don't really care or feel like grinding to play him, and I don't suffer from FOMO, so yeah, for now I'm done with Overwatch 2. I'll probably drop back in to play a custom game here and there. I want to be optimistic, but it's Blizzard, and I'm too black-pilled at this point to be so. I plan on covering it for any future fuck-ups or improvements. Seriously though, if the game does have any substantial improvements in the future, I will return to it. Billions of patch updates later. But for now, that is all I want to say. Goodbye, I'll see you when I see you.